Hello, hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space. And another Valentine card that's not actually a Valentine, but I'm including it in my Valentine series. Like I've said, when I started my 2025 Valentine series, a lot of the cards I make can fit sort of any occasion. Because that's how I roll. Because you only need so many actual Valentine cards, and I like to mix it up and have fun with it. So today's video is using more of the new Honeybee Stamps January release. I posted a video. When this goes up, it'll probably be yesterday. It's the video before this. That's probably how it's going to pan out. Using some of this release, I'm using a couple more of the same items in this video, so it gives more ideas. And some of the other products, specifically one of the new Lovely Layers sets. And if you're not familiar, Honeybee has many Lovely Layers wafer die sets in all sorts of different genres. A lot of them are florals, my favorite, of course. But this one is the Roll the Dice Lovely Layer set. I only use the coupe, I think that's how you pronounce it, stemware in this set. But there's a little like roulette wheel and dice and things like that. It's cute. So yeah, and there's other Lovely Layers sets. I will have a link to the new release, as always, in the description box below the video. So I did die cutting, and I used the 3D embossing folder, and splatter, and heat embossing, all the things. All the things. This one is part of an Instagram hop for this release. As always, also, I will have a link to my Instagram. I always do in the description box below the video. Definitely worth checking that one out, as well as the previous video. The previous video was a video hop and super fun, inspiration, all the good things. And then this one's the Instagram hop. There's a lot of Honeybee designers participating, so lots of inspiration. So definitely check out my Instagram. And yeah. Oh, and then of course, I will have links to all the supplies I used. Those will be listed and linked in the description box below the video. My links are affiliate links. That just means that if you click on one of my links and end up placing an order, I do get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. It is what helps pay the bills, keeps my heaters going, enables me to keep bringing out content. That's enough chatter from me. Let's get into making the card. So like I said, I used the Lovely Layers Roll the Dice die set. And I die cut my pieces from various colors of Altenew cardstock, and I'll have all the specific colors listed and linked in the description box below the video. And after I had done my die cutting, you just got to assemble these, and it's super simple. With all of the Lovely Layer sets, if it doesn't come with a layering guide, there's always one listed with the product listing on the website, so you can download it for that visual, print it off, whatever works. I always find that 99% of the time I either don't need the guide or it's just a quick like, oh yeah, okay, this makes sense, you know? But generally, most of the time, it's pretty obvious. You can sort of see it on camera, but like a lot of their wafer dies, there's a lot of like deboss details, which one, adds to things, but two, for a lot of the layers, it shows it, the debossing just literally shows you where the next piece goes. So it just comes together, and I like that. I like the debossing because of just the extra detail, but I also like when there's just visual guides so that I don't have to think so much. I do enough of that already. It's overrated. Anyway, after I assembled those glasses, I used the same colors of cardstock plus like this minty shade, and I'm just trimming off strips. No measurements, just eyeballing it, just random strips. Not very wide. I think the widest one is like a little over 1/4 of an inch. Again, it honestly doesn't matter. But I just used my paper trimmer and trimmed these various strips of cardstock. And I showed this in a video a couple months ago. I think it was a couple months ago. It was not too long ago. In my Christmas card series, I think. Yeah. And I'm doing the exact same technique. It's super easy, and yeah, it's fun. It's a neat way to get another look with your embossing folders. So to get that, I've got my little strips of cardstock, and then this white piece here is just copy paper, just thin. It needs to be thin. Depending on the thickness of the cardstock using, things like that, I still just recommend copy paper because it's thin, it just makes life easier, and it's not going to add bulk. Plus, this will make it go through the embossing folder a lot easier because I don't want to like load up my embossing folders too much because there's a chance you could like pop the folder apart. So I use just tape runner. Not something I personally like to use very often on my cards. You guys see me. I use liquid glue and like foam adhesive for everything. But for this, tape runner was quick and easy and it's going to do the job. So I ran the tape runner on that copy paper, lined up those strips of paper just on an angle. And then I'm trimming off all the excess copy paper with my scissors and even kind of undercutting the top and bottom strip there so none of the copy paper shows through. So now I've got this piece with all these strips of paper. And I'm going to run this through the Aces 3D embossing folder. And with the Honeybee embossing folders and the Anna Griffin Empress die cut machine, the sandwich that works for me is a cutting plate, the magnetic plate, and the folder. Works a treat. So I'm going to emboss this piece first, and then I'm going to emboss a second panel of, this is ivory cardstock. And again, technically you could adhere the strips of cardstock to the panel of paper, other cardstock, and then just emboss it in one go. But like I said, I would rather not risk like overloading my embossing folders. And also doing it separately like this, I don't have words for how satisfying this is when it fits into place. So I embossed that second panel, which is A2 sized of ivory cardstock. And because of the way I lined everything up, this is going to it just like clicks into place. And like I said, it's satisfying, okay? I like it. This is what works for me. So this time I'm using just Craft Tacky adhesive to adhere this to the background. And because I emboss both, it's all seamless. Another thing you could do is just mask off strips and like ink blend. If you don't have a lot of colored cardstock, that is another option and that would look really fun too. It'll take a little bit longer than doing it this way, but that is also an option. But I like doing it with the cardstock. It's super crisp. It's fun, and again, that satisfaction when it clicks into place. I love it. So anyway, I trimmed down that panel. It was originally A2 size, so I trimmed it down to roughly like 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And then as another little embellishment, I'm using the Royal Flush set, which I used in the previous video. And I took a couple of the individual playing cards from the set, and I've got some vellum. And I also have a sentiment from this is the Love You Friend set. And I use my anti-static powder tool on the vellum and this minty piece of cardstock. And I am inking up the sentiment to stamp on the cardstock with clear embossing ink and then coating it with some detail white embossing powder. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the playing card images. I'm going to stamp those with the clear embossing ink onto the vellum. And I'm going to coat those with the detail white embossing powder. So got those stamped into place. Pour over the embossing powder, tap off the excess, and then I will melt all of this with my heat tool till everything is just smooth, melted. And always to remember, especially with vellum, embossing powder melts insanely quickly on vellum compared to cardstock. So it's just something to pay attention to because vellum will also burn a lot faster than cardstock. Ask me how I know. I learned that one many, many, many years ago. So melted those. And then use the coordinating wafer dies from both sets. So the coordinating wafer die for the little sentiment, and then there's a coordinating wafer die for the playing card. So I'm going to die cut these pieces, and there's only the one wafer die because all the individual playing cards in the Royal Flush set are the same size. So ran that through, and then I'll die cut the second playing card with that wafer die. So once I've got those die cut, I can start kind of embellishing and building the rest of this card front. So I had some thread out, and I was originally going to do like a little like thread nest behind the glasses, but instead changed my mind and did those playing cards on the vellum instead. So since the thread was out, I decided I just wrapped it around the card front along the very bottom and the very top of the strips of paper. So on camera especially, it's very subtle, but in real life, it's like, ooh, the gold thread just picks up the light, It's just that little hint of gold. And trust me, I'm going to add more gold because you can never have too much. So I just wrapped that around the top and the bottom there, taped in place behind everything with just washi tape because when I add the adhesive, that'll hold everything in place. It'll be good. So, like I've said a bajillion times, vellum is a little finicky. Adhesive shows through it. Depending on how you're using it, it can get weird. So in this case, I don't want to add adhesive where you can see it. So first thing I did was I adhered the two glasses together, just kind of put them on an angle. So I adhered them together with the craft tacky glue. And then I put some thin foam squares on the back of the glasses, and I even trimmed down some of them so I could put like really thin little strips on the bottoms and then on the stems, because the stems are, delicate as they are in real life with these types of glasses. And once I've got those into place, I'm then going to arrange my little vellum playing cards on the card front, how I want them to be, and then press the glasses right onto that. So then once those are in place, I can now hide my adhesive behind those glasses so you won't see it. So I, squeeze a little bit of craft tacky glue to glue those two playing cards into place. And then I decided to add a few more, because again, these are thin foam squares. They're not like thick and bulky like the regular ones. So I popped a few more of those just to pop the cards up as well off the card front. Remove the backing and pop those into place. So now my vellum, playing cards are adhered. Can't see the adhesive. We're good to go. Then I'm going to add some gold splatter, because of course. So I'm using my Picket Fence paper splatter watercolor, the liquid gold. And I just stuck this time I just stuck it on my acrylic block because it was sitting there. Anything non-porous will work. And then swirled it up with my little fan brush and then splattered this onto the card front and then let that dry. And then my card base is a top folding A2 white note card, so 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I was originally going to stamp these cards like all over, and that's why I had the Post-it tape in place to prevent stamping past the score line. But instead, I decided to only stamp each one once. And I die cut copy paper with the coordinating wafer die to mask the first one. I didn't do a very good job stamping them. But rather than redo it, because one, it's the inside of the card, I'm not too concerned about it. But rather than redo it, my sentiment, I just adhered along the bottom to cover that up. And that's good. And the sentiment, I had white heat embossed on another like scrap of that mint cardstock. And the sentiment is from the So Lucky stamp set. And it says like, lucky to have you. So I had stamped it, white heat embossed it, die cut it with a coordinating wafer die, adhered it to the inside of the card. And then to adhere my card front, I popped Big Mama foam tape on the back of this, which is also very thin foam tape. So it gives just a little bit of dimension. And then another sentiment, because I went all out with the sentiments this time. This little die cut is from the Great Greetings Friend wafer die. It does have an outline as well, but I didn't use the outline. I used just the sentiment, the hugs sentiment. And I die cut it from some matte gold cardstock and some white cardstock. And I also die cut some scraps of the white cardstock, just the first part of the sentiment, because I've got all this dimension going on with the note card, the little vellum playing cards and the glasses. So this is going to build up the dimension on this end of the sentiment rather than fiddle. And I've talked about this. I really don't like fiddling with, I would have to cut the tiniest bits of foam tape. I'm not going to do that. It's faster to just die cut scraps and adhere them, as I did. And then I can pop this into place. So I'm going to get this adhered into place, and then I can pop that other sentiment that I had heat embossed, and this one says, cheers to our friendship. So I'm going to pop that into place with some foam squares. And then I dug through, talked about this in past videos, I have multiple lifetimes of bling for my cards. I've been doing this for so many years. I've been doing this as a job for so many years, and plus I'm a magpie and I collect it and order it when I don't need it anymore. But I was able to dig through and I found the right color. So, worth it. Anyway, found some mint colored pearls in my stash that match the cardstock. So I put a few of those onto the card and I adhered them into place with dabs of craft tacky glue. And that finished it off. So this was really fun to make. And that embossing folder is just, oh, look at the detail. It's so fun. And yeah, the last video, if you haven't watched it, you did that in black. It was a black, gold, and white card, which people keep asking, like, when's the next one? Yeah, that was yesterday. So check that out if you missed it. Anyway, thank you all so much for hanging out with me, for thumbs upping and commenting. It helps a ton. I very much appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Bye. Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in joining my Patreon community and supporting me, the link to my Patreon is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't, I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye!